Hey guys! So last time I saw you, I was super pregnant, and now I'm not. There's no baby in this belly as of 1 week ago. What? So instead of doing one of my regular videos, I actually wanted to do a little bit of a story time and share with you June's birth story. And I would totally grab her and present her a la Lion King style, but she's sleeping and you never wake a baby. I'm saying. Where to start? Okay, so first of all, to preface everything that happened, I gotta take you back to a couple months ago. So a couple months ago, I started talking with Matt and I was like, I really want to have an unmedicated birth this time around. My first time around I had an epidural and everything went really smoothly, but I don't know, something in me was like, yeah! So we started taking hypnobirthing classes, which is basically just, I mean, that's a whole story in and of itself. If you guys want to hear more about hypnobirthing and how to go about having an unmedicated birth, I'd be totally happy to talk to you about that. That's not why we're here today, you know what I'm saying? We decided to have an unmedicated birth. I went to my 39, it was like 38 and a half week doctor's appointment. Everything was fine, totally normal. I had been kind of like a little bit crampy and feeling like, okay, these are the start of something going on, but like it felt more like Braxton Hicks to me, so I wasn't really like concerned. I went to my doctor's that morning and they did a little, you know, checky downstairs, and she was like, oh. And I was like, is everything all right? And she was like, do you know that you're dilated to 6 centimeters? And I was like, well, no, ma'am, I did not. She was like, look, you're gonna have this baby in the next couple of days. I would bet 90% like things are happening and I'm not gonna see you again. The next time I see you is gonna be in the hospital. And I was so not expecting that. I had Jocelyn in tow with me, and I was just like kind of in total shock. I went over to this little kiddie area and just started getting on the phone with all my family, and I was like, but I'm not ready, I don't have any groceries in the fridge, and I haven't done this with Jocelyn yet. And I just started feeling all of the feelings. Basically, I just wanted to conquer the world in one day so that I would be totally ready to have the baby, because, you know, my doctor made it sound like it was gonna happen so fast. And I was on the phone with my mom and I was like, do you think that, you know, maybe she could be wrong? Do you think that like I could dilate and kind of be like this for weeks? You know, you never know. And she was like, I don't know, but like you need to be prepared. Matt works about 30 minutes away from where we live, and commuting wise it's like an hour commute with really bad traffic. And so I was just like, if I go into labor, like my doctor said, if you go into labor, like you need to get to the hospital right away. And she was like, I can strip your membranes if you really want me to. And I was like, no, thanks, I really am not ready, actually. So yeah, Matt lived really far away, and worked so far away that I was just like, oh my gosh, I had this vision in my mind of like, I'm going to have to drive myself and my little girl to the hospital in the middle of contractions because there's not going to be enough time to call somebody. And I was just like, guys, I was seriously like having a full-fledged just like panic attack. So I calmed down a little bit and I was like, okay, you're not in labor yet, like you're dilated, but you're not in labor, like just go have a good day, like don't spend your day crying. Like spend your day with Jocelyn having a ton of fun. And so I took her to go get lunch, and then we went to like a couple shops, and we went to the beach, and we just had like a really fun day. I was just like determined that like, no, this isn't happening. I'm gonna go have fun. I'm gonna check every little box off on my list, baby, you stay in there. I was hoping that she would at least stay in there for the weekend, because then Matt would be home and he would be around, and I wouldn't feel so panicked if I went into labor, you know. So all this was Wednesday. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, we get back home from the beach, and Matt gives me a call and he's like, I want to head home early, just in case, you know, you go into labor. And I was like, that's awesome, come home. And we'll go out to dinner. Like, we can't have a last date, but we could at least have like a last family dinner. We'll all go out and we'll have a really nice night. I get like a call around 7:30 and I'm like starting to wonder where Matt is, and he's like, I'm in like the worst traffic ever. There's been tons and tons of accidents. I've just been like, I'm like 15 minutes away from the house, but I'm just stuck behind this accident, like nothing's moving. And so I was like, okay, well, you know, I'll stall Jocelyn, I'll feed her snacks, and we can just do a really late dinner. Like, I was refusing to not have our last family dinner. So, like 8 o'clock, and he finally gets home, and we go out to dinner, everything's normal, and we get back home. I just had like this super distinct feeling that I needed to go lay down. Got Jocelyn in her PJs, and I was just laying in the bed, and I stood up and my water broke. At first I was like, I think I just peed myself. Like, that wouldn't be the first time something has happened. My bladder control is not the best it's ever been since I've had a baby. Sometimes I sneeze and things can happen. So I was like, oh my gosh, I think I just like full-fledged peed myself, like, for no reason. And so I like went to go check out the situation, you know. This is not pee, this is a ton of water. Like, I could not have fit that much pee in my bladder, especially because I was peeing like every 5 minutes at this point. I called Matt over and I was like, my water just broke. Text your mom and tell her that like my water just broke, but things aren't going yet. And so the thing with like natural birth is that a lot of times you want to labor a little bit at home because you can feel a lot of pressure in the hospital with like, oh, your water's broken, but you need to start Pitocin right away or whatever. So we just wanted to make sure that like I was in real labor before we got to the hospital. He's like, do you want to go right now? Like, let's call a hospital, let's head over there. And I was just like, let's wait just a little bit. I just want to have time to like assess what's happening. Like, I was just laying down and Jocelyn was like freaking out. She didn't know what was going on because I was like definitely a little panicked. So she came and lay next to me on the bed, and we were just watching one of her Disney movies, and I started having pretty intense contractions. I mean, not like super intense, but painful. In hypnobirthing there was no pain, but let me tell you, there is pain in birth. I started timing them, and like 6 minutes apart, 5 minutes apart, and I like the switch, I just realized that I was going really quickly. So I told Matt to call his mom. I'm like, she needs to come over right now. I'm progressing really quickly. And so she came over to the house. By this time Jocelyn was asleep, and by the time she got there my contractions were 5 minutes apart. And so we headed to the hospital. I was like, you know how to get to the hospital, right? Because we didn't know where the hospital was, but we had done like a tour and made sure that we knew how to get there. But I'm generally like the sense of direction in our relationship, you know what I'm saying? Like, I always know where I am, and I always tell Matt how to get there. And there were a couple times where he's like, right here, left here, and I'm like, where are we? We made it to the hospital. It was like 11 p.m. when we got to the hospital. We ran up to the emergency thing, and they're like totally nonchalant, like, hey, what's going on? And I'm like, this is the effing emergency entrance. Like, treat me with some urgency. I'm having a baby. Because I just knew that my contractions were together. Because I had had an epidural before, I had labored for about 7 hours with Jocelyn without an epidural before, and then had it, but I had never gotten to the point that my contractions were really close together. Like, I didn't have an accurate assessment of what that like really active labor felt like when you're about to have a baby. I was just like, I don't really know how long I have, but like I think I felt really urgent about everything. And so we got to the line. There was a line at the emergency thing. What the heck? Anyway, so we got there, And they're like, how far along are you? And I was like, my water's broken. I'm having contractions every 4 minutes right now. And I saw my doctor today. I'm 6 centimeters dilated. Like, I need to get in right now. And they're like, ooh. It felt like in Zootopia with the sloths, if you've seen Zootopia. And they're like, okay, let me send someone, you know? I was just like, bah! So they finally bring a girl. She brings a wheelchair because I could not walk at this point. I was just like having like really intense contractions, and I would just have to stop and close my eyes and I like disappear from the world, you know? They take me over to triage, which is where they assess you and assess how far you are, if they're going to admit you or if they're going to make you go home. And I was just like, look. The lady hands me a piece of paper, first of all. I was already registered at the hospital, and she hands me a piece of paper and she's like, write down all this information. I was just like, I can't write. I'm in such intense contractions. And I was just like, I can't. My water's broken. I'm 6 centimeters dilated, at least. This is how far apart my contractions are. And I was just like, bah! Because in hospitals, they just see it so often that they're just like, yeah, whatever. So then they bring me out to the waiting room, which I was just like, bring me out to the waiting room so they can get a room ready for me. And so I labored out in the waiting room for a while. And then they bring me into my room, and at this point, like, the contractions are probably 2 minutes apart. They're really intense in my back. Like, I felt like I was breaking my back. And trying to use like breathing techniques and everything, you know, like keep on top of it, but they were really intense. And nobody really seemed like to get it, you know? I walk in and people are like, hi, I'm your nurse, what's your name? And I was just like, F you lady, give me my gown, like, let me do this. They are like, here's your gown, go into the bathroom and close the door, and da-da-da. The lady was so polite, but I was just like, I had this like such urgent feeling in my body that I just like ripped all my clothes off and I was like, put it on. And she was like, oh my. She like put my gown on for me really quick, and this other girl comes in and she's like, hi, I'm so and so, and I was like, I need a birthing ball. I freaking had lost my mind. So the girl runs out and she goes and gets a birthing ball or whatever. And she brings it out, and I'm like, I start having this sensation of like, you've got to move your hips, like you've got to move your hips and like kind of get this baby in position. So I'm like sitting there on this yoga ball and I'm just like rocking and just like breathing, and I'm having Matt push on my back. And the lady's like, we're gonna get your IV prep in your wrist, which I had like requested that I didn't want to be on like a saline drip. I wanted to be able to move around the room and do whatever I wanted to do. But they were like, we just need to have it on there for precautionary reasons, because there was really no reason to have it on there. She's like, and I have to ask you more questions. And so she's at the computer and she's just asking me questions. And I started, they were so close together that I started just like disappearing from the world. Like I couldn't hear what people were saying, and I couldn't, like, I just wasn't present. I was just so focused on, trying so hard to focus on just like getting through everything and staying on top of what was going on, that I was just like, I'm sorry, I can't answer your questions. And she's trying to get me to answer questions, but I was just like, yeah, blah, do you have any allergies? I don't know. And then all of a sudden I just stand up and I'm like, I gotta poop. And the lady's like, you have to go poo poo. And I was like, I have to poop right now. She's like, do you have to push a baby out or do you have to go poop? And I was like, I don't know, I just have to poop. I like, you know, run over to the bathroom. I don't even know if I closed the door or not. I probably didn't. Someone probably closed it for me. And they had started a bath for me, which was in the room too. And Matt was filling the bathtub and I'm in the bathroom, and I felt like I was going to die. Like I felt like I was going to die. I start pooping. I go to the bathroom and I feel the baby's head hunk, turn and just drop. And I was like, oh my gosh. I just felt so much pain. The contractions were just like bam, 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 like they're just really, really intense, really close together, but very short. I started screaming. And I was like, Matt, get over here. And he's like, I could tell he was like jostled because like I was supposed to be pooping and he didn't want to be in there. I was like, get in here! And he comes in and I was just like, I need an epidural. I need it now or I am going to die. And I was just like, I thought I was going crazy because nobody was, like I hadn't been checked for how far along, how far I was dilated or effaced. I didn't have any IV drip. I hadn't answered any questions. Everybody was acting really nonchalant because I had literally just got to the hospital. And they were just kind of like, you know, whatever, she's just laboring. And I just felt like I was going crazy because I felt like this huge sense of urgency and I knew something really big was happening and that I was about to have a baby, but they thought I was in early labor. I started screaming and I was like, I kind of thought I was going crazy at this point, that I'm like, maybe this is early labor. Maybe I'm gonna labor for 5 more hours and I just can't handle it, you know? So I start screaming at Matt. I'm like, if this is gonna be going on for 5 hours, I need an epidural. I need it right now. I was just losing my crap. So much for staying super calm and just breathing through having a baby, but it was really, really painful. The nurse comes in and she hears me panicking and she's like, look, you don't even have an IV prep in you. You have just got to go get in the bathtub. Your body will relax, just get in the tub. Like, ripped my clothes off, ripped my gown off, and got in the tub. And someone had filled the tub up to the very, very, very rim of the tub. And it was like Free Willy, boom, just water pours all over everywhere. We need some nurses in here to come clean this up. And I'm just like trying to get into the tub. And they're like, you gotta turn your body around. And I was like, I can't move. And the nurse is like, I mean, it was like a freaking circus in there. People are trying to mop stuff up and they're slipping. I'm trying to, like, my butt's in the air, I'm butt naked, just trying to get in the bathtub. I turn around, I'm in the tub. She goes, give me your arm, I need to get your IV prep done. She's like, this is gonna hurt a little bit. And I'm like, I honestly can't feel anything other than what's happening down here. Do whatever, I don't care. I was just so mad that this lady was trying to do an IV prep and I felt like I was birthing a child, like in the part where the baby is down the birth canal. So she's like, you need to sit still, you need to sit still. And I'm like, I can't sit still. And Matt is trying to get to me and she's like, I need you to go get back. You can't touch her right now because I have a needle right here. I don't want to poke you. And I was just like, I need to hold on to something. And she's just telling me to sit still while I'm freaking birthing a baby down into the world. I start just sobbing because I couldn't have, like, she wasn't getting that I was, like, pushing, like, a baby was coming out of me at that moment, that she was telling me to sit still. Like, who does that? Who does that? So I just started sobbing, like, full on baby sobs, just like, because I couldn't communicate that I was having that child right then. So she's telling me to sit still, and I just start, like, grunting, like, full on, just like, ugh. And I do one push and I just start yelling, something happened, something happened, something happened, something happened. And she's like, uh-huh, dear, yeah, sit still, da-da-da, looking at my wrist. And I'm like, you are the worst nurse I've ever met in my entire life. And I'm like, something's happening, she's right here. And she's like, yeah, you're in labor, she's coming. And I'm like, no, she's right there. She's like, and she's just focused on getting this stupid IV in my arm. And I grunt one more time, and I feel like, you know, when I started saying something's happening, I felt the baby crown. And I give one more grunt, and the baby just shoots into the bathtub. Like, literally, it was just like, pew! And she didn't even notice because she was still giving me my freaking IV prep and telling me to sit still. And Matt just yells, there's a baby in the tub. And so I'm like, ah, and I grab the baby and I put her on my chest and I'm like patting her back. I mean, I did not plan for a water birth. And so I'm like, is everything okay? And the nurse is like, oh my gosh. And she puts her needle stuff down and she's like, she looks to Matt and she's like, go get a doctor. And you can hear him out in the hall, there's a baby in the tub. just like, we need a doctor, there's a baby in the tub. Doctor comes in and she had been waiting there. I saw her as I walked in, like she was ready to deliver my baby. Just this dang nurse didn't understand that I was having a freaking baby as I'm like screaming my head off. And she's like, why didn't anybody come and get me? And the nurse is like, I was just trying to get her IV prep in. And I was just like, I was just trying to murder you. But everything was okay. So she was perfectly healthy. She was totally fine in the water because they breathe off of the cord until they're able to take their first breath. So she just took her first breath when we took her out of the water. But, yeah, that is the birth story. So I had from 11, I got to the hospital 11 and she was born at 12:02, which was just so crazy how fast that went. So I was in labor from 9 p.m. to 12 and with 2 pushes she was just patchooey! Like the craziest experience, and not at all what I envisioned going natural would be like. And I think I definitely did not have the support from the nursing staff that would have made it. I feel like I could have been a lot more calm had someone recognized that I was like literally birthing a child and I needed to like push on someone or to like, you know, be in a good position. But I mean, I was being told that I had to sit still, which is just not what you tell a lady that is trying to have a baby. So yeah, that is the story of how June was born. Her name is June Adele McCammon. She was born 6 pounds, 15 ounces. She's the sweetest thing. She has really dark hair like me, which I was so happy because Jocelyn is really, really blonde. She's dark hair, darker eyes. She looks a lot like me. I will totally show her to you guys in one of my next videos. But we're doing really well, and yeah, that's how June was born. I hope you guys got some entertainment out of this because it was intense. Yeah, it's definitely something that we will talk about and tell June forever. So I wanted to record it not just for you guys to have, but for her to be able to look on and be like, man, Mom, that was some crazy crap you went through. And someday she's gonna have gratitude, you know? Anyways, I hope you guys are doing super well. We're doing awesome over here, just adjusting to life with a new baby. And I will be back with some more videos soon. So I will be talking to you. Bye, guys.